Hi, this is Ram V, and I'm at ComicsOnline.
Ram, first of all, congratulations on your new exclusive DC news. We're very excited for you.
Thank you so much.
So I've been looking forward to speaking about the Vigil. Obviously, 3 issues in, you've done a lot of world building in a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
Can you talk about what your creative process was to get us to this point with these new characters?
I mean, really, the structural framework for the Vigil was just, let's look at a character every issue. And we've kind of followed that ever since issue 2, really. And that continues. The world kind of builds out as we look at these characters, so it's almost an interesting way to contextualize a world. Like, it's a world as these characters, as these players from the Vigil see it. And the world through their point of view is a very strange, filled with pseudoscience and conspiracy theories world. So that's kind of been my aesthetic, my go-to process for how I want to structure this.
Did you have these characters in mind or in the works for a while, or was it something that sort of just came from a single spark from a singular idea?
No, actually, I had this idea in my head long before I started making comics. I only started making comics in 2016, and I was sharing with one of my editors a sketch that I had done for the design for Arclight, which was made in like 2012. So clearly I'd been thinking about these characters for a while. And the story, I think, is better for it because it has that time to marinate and sort of develop in your head.
And unlike most of the characters and stories in the DC universe, you have some very different vocales that they get to go to. Can you talk about exploring those unseen corners of the DC universe?
Yeah, I mean, I just felt like these universes are supposed to be facsimiles of our real world, and why wouldn't there be conspiracy theories in Cambodia, in India, in Thailand, in the Indian Ocean? And so I think not only does that contextualize the characters, because the characters are from India, and it also kind of introduces or creates a window for readers who've never been to India, never seen that part of the world, to now have some familiarity with it. You know, there's always this sense of like trepidation towards the unknown, and I think more stories and more comics should give these windows to people where it's normal for superheroes to be in Cambodia, it's normal for superheroes to be in India, in China, and I think that is more representative of the world that we live in today.
With this first arc, as you were breaking the story and breaking the characters, were there any moments that have stood out to you, just sort of that where it clicked, or the surprises for you as a creator?
I mean, the original idea was very different from what the book is now, and I'm the kind of writer who lets an idea kind of evolve as I write a book. So I think the moment for me is actually coming up in the next issue. So I don't want to spoil it, but there's a big revelation in the next issue which recontextualizes everything you've read so far and makes you question the origin of the team, we've got this kind of mystery going on about the Doctor, and so that gets answered somewhat, and it really does make you do like a second take into like, oh, what? That changes everything I assumed was true about the first 3 issues.
Well, we've been covering the Vigil for the first 3 issues.
Yeah.
How would you, if you were doing the 30-second pitch to a new reader, essentially explain the Vigil in a nutshell?
Yeah, the Vigil is a group of secret vigilantes working for an independently wealthy patron, and their remit is to find and destroy technologies, ideas, stories that the world is not ready for yet.
That's a very good summary. In addition to the Vigil, you're working on Detective Comics.
Yeah.
Can you talk about just your approach to taking on the Batverse and this family of characters?
Yeah, I mean, when I was first asked to pitch for Detective, and in general, when I'm asked to pitch for existing properties, my first question is, okay, what can I do with it that is unique to me? What can I do with it that hasn't been done before? And clearly my brain just went to like, Batman as opera hasn't been done before, even though there are clear operatic connections in Batman's origin and history and past. And so I just developed that idea of sort of treating the Bat universe as this overarching tragic drama happening across multiple characters, multiple lives, with Bruce and his existence as Batman at the center of it all.
I like to ask creators what their first memory of interacting with comics as a medium would be, whether it was first time either drawing a character or first comic that you picked up. What's your first memory in relation to comics?
In relation to comics, the very first comic I ever read was a Tintin comic. It's a European comic, and in India back in those days you couldn't get DC Marvel, so largely we had Tintin, Asterix, Phantom, Flash Gordon. In fact, probably even before then I was reading Lee Fox Phantom comic strips on the Sunday newspaper in India. And so, yeah, that's my earliest memory of ever looking at a comic strip and going like, what is that?
So with your new exclusive agreement with DC, are there any projects that you can share that have been announced or anything you're looking forward to?
Not yet. There are several sort of in discussion, under pitch, and I'm sure most of them will see the light of day, but in good time. Right now I'm focused on my run on Detective, which continues for another 10 to 12 issues at the very least. And then again finishing up the Vigil, 2 more issues there. And then we'll see what comes up after that.
Well, we hope we get more of the Vigil because it's definitely been one of the most interesting and innovative groups that we've seen from the DC universe in a while.
Too, so we'll have to see.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. It's a pleasure meeting you.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for more DC coverage at Comics Online.